So I am so in awe. Yeah, I'm just like absolutely blown away at at just how some people think and rationalize. And I recently did something I probably shouldn't have. Now looking at what has happened, I spent about a month preparing a video, preparing my arguments, and I made it private, and I sent it to some people that I hold dear to my heart, some friends and family members. And just for some background, my family is heavily involved in the Mormon Church or the Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS people. And I was LDS at one point, and I did my studies. I looked at everything as objectively as I could, and I acknowledged the problems of using spiritual experience as some form of verification or validation that your truth is or is not correct. So I bullet pointed all of my points, and I made the video, and I pointed out all of the historical facts that we know of concerning the LDS Church, and just the obvious and blatant proofs that Joseph Smith was a fraud. But I tried to really do it in a way where I wasn't attacking. I tried to present it in a way where it was, I think you guys should take a look at this, and then make your decisions as to whether or not you think the church is true. And I am just blown away at the responses I have received. One, because nobody so far has watched the entire video. And assumptions have been made based on what I said within the first 30 seconds of the video. And two, at the unwillingness to look at this information. Now, I'm certain, and it's been backed up by plenty of evidence and proof, that religious beliefs, without any proof that they are valid, are harmful to uncanny levels. I mean, depression, pornography addiction. I mean, you can go down the list and show that beliefs that are not based on logic or reason, but that are simply based on emotional responses, religious ideology, have a negative effect on people. And it's not just that, but it's that once you believe something, whether or not it's true, that's how you interact with the world, and it's how you interact with other people. It's how you make decisions. and this isn't just personal. This is on a social scale. It's how whole societies make political decisions, social decisions, economic decisions, and even moral decisions. I would venture to say that many of the people I send this video to would kill or be killed for their ideology, which is concerning to me. It's so upsetting that these people that I love are so willing to blindly follow something where we have undeniable proof that the Book of Mormon is not a legitimate document, that the Pearl of Great Price and the Book of Abraham are just nothing but fraudulent documents. And you know, you have to reason, if the LDS Church was true, why would God set it up in a way such that all of the evidence shows without question that it's a fraud? Why would the apologists have to make, you know, explanations that are pages in length, explaining each point and just stretching it and twisting it and contorting it until it fits? Why would God do that? Because if God was a God of reason and logic, and as the LDS people believe, if he was a God that delighted in simple and plain things, why would he make it so convoluted and difficult to logically analyze the history of the church in order to determine its validity? And so many of them will fall back and say, well, you know, it's not the proof, you have to pray about it. But then that breaks down, because you have people of different faiths praying about different religions and receiving answers that are completely contradictory. And then they'll answer that one with, well, you know, I don't have a problem with God talking with people of different religions and faiths. But then he's lying to them, because they're asking him or her or it or whatever if their belief system is true, and they're getting a verified spiritual experience that it is. And so this is just so concerning to me, that these people that I love are not seeing this. The indoctrination is such a powerful mind control technique that nobody is truly willing to look at this, and I have to sit here and watch them struggle and try to conform to this idea of being a perfect human and living like unreal lives, you know, giving most of their free time to their church callings, giving 10% of their money. And I mean, they're asked, even if you can't pay for food for your family, pay tithing. Like, these are quotes that prophets have said. And the troubling thing is, many of the prophets have, in talks, said, if the Book of Mormon isn't true, then this church is the most evil, conniving, conflicting poison that has been set loose on the earth. That the Book of Mormon should be scoured for evidences, and if the evidence doesn't match up, it should be rejected. But that particular, those talks are brushed aside. They're not, you know, considered. Either that, or they'll say, well, you know, all prophets make mistakes, which is another thing. I mean, we've got a history full of unfulfilled prophecy in the LDS Church. And and they say, well, he said that as a man, not as a prophet. And it's like, well, then how are you supposed to know whether or not he's speaking as a man or a prophet? When do you know his prophecies are as a prophet instead of as just a man? How do you do that? Are you supposed to pray about it? Because I bet if you do, you'll get an answer that's completely different from your neighbors. In fact, I know that's true because I've seen it happen in my family. And it's so frustrating to watch this happen, especially to people you care about. That it's like, you feel just so like you can't do anything about it. And you can't. You can't. I tried. I sent them videos, and I have, one responded and said that I'm being selfish, and that the video was more about me than it wasn't about anybody else. It wasn't about my concern for anybody else. It was about me and relieving my frustration with it, and that it was unwarranted. Yet we send missionaries out to people's homes and bug them over and over until people convert, and we go out, or well, not we, the church goes out and tries to preach and push ideologies onto other people. But when somebody from outside of the church has actual evidence that there's major problems with the validity of the church, and they try to present it to somebody in the church, they consider it an attack and an unwarranted delivery of information. And this is really frustrating and confusing, that these extremely intelligent people, and I consider most of them to be intelligent, if not all of them, to be very analytical and bright people in normal life. But when it comes to religion, because they have been so indoctrinated, their goggles come down and they just see what they want to see. It is uncanny. It is just so bizarre that this happens. And so, I mean, I spoke with one of them on the phone today, and again, I'm not going to use names. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I find it highly unlikely any of them will see this anyway. But they said that they had searched for truth for a long time and just got so frustrated with not receiving answers from God and not getting any, validation that what they were doing was right, that they finally just decided that they just had to pick something to believe in and just go with it. And I was like, what? Really? Even though it's not true, even though you have no evidence, you're just going to believe it? Because why? And the answer was that, everybody should just believe something because if it makes them happy inside. Well, then my return was, but we know it affects societies at large, and that it has major effects on all sorts of things. It pushed stem cell research. Religious influence pushed stem cell research back 10-15 years. We have gay rights issues. We've got abortion issues. We have all sorts of medical and scientific advancements that are just being stifled by religious nonsense left and right. And I express that, and I'm like, it's not just affecting you. It's not about your happiness. It's affecting our society at large. This is a major problem. And she whoops. They refuted by saying, well, it doesn't matter. It matters what makes you happy and what makes you feel at peace. And so here's one of the most beautiful and just caring and loving persons that I know saying very literally that it doesn't matter the effect it has on other people, negative or positive, as long as it brings peace to you. And it is just, they didn't even think twice that it was actually what they were saying. It was just mind-boggling. I mean, Where's the magic key to this one? Where's the the poof cure, the big de-hypnosis machine in the movies where after the bad guy hypnotizes the whole planet in his plan to dominate everything, and somebody comes out with a giant strobe light and just wakes everybody up. Where is that? Where is that? I'm so lost as to this, and they all seem to be so adamant that this is all about me, and this is just so, quit being so adamant about this, quit being so worried about this. This is just, the happiness and the lives we've decided to live. And I can't. It's not about me not being happy. I'm actually an extremely happy person. I have a great life. I have a great job. I've got, I've been knocking off my debt like no other. I'm very satisfied and very at peace with who I am and where I am in life. The problem is that I'm watching this nonsense happen, and I'm watching the pain that it's causing, and I'm watching just the sorrow and the hatred that's just pumping through our society, because people are believing things that are not true and interacting with the world in ways, in accordance with what they believe that is not true. And it's logic. If you have a belief that's not true and you try to use that belief that is not true to interact with the world around you, you're going to get a reaction that is not in alignment with the reaction you would get if you were to interact with the world through information that was true. For example, if you believed absolutely that 2 + 2 equaled 7, and God told you this, and this to be for sure, you've prayed about it, and you go and take an exam, or you try to work out a formula for some medicine, or do some physics calculations down at CERN based on a belief that you have that has no evidence, but actually has evidence to show that it is not true. It's not good. It's the reaction is a negative reaction. It's a faulty reaction. It is going to cause things to happen that are not good, and that is my biggest concern. That it is causing bad things to happen, and nobody's seeing this, and they're calling me selfish. I'm at this point where I just want to say, fuck it. Let's just watch the world burn. Maybe it's time I need to start being selfish too. Just let them all do their stupid shit, and but it's hard to let go of that. It's hard to just release that one and just let it go. So I don't advertise my videos. I don't go out of my way to try to get people to watch them. Occasionally I'll post one on Facebook or something, but if you happen to stumble across this is really just me kind of trying to work through this in my mind, venting a little bit while at the same time trying to maybe share this out there, maybe get some information from other people that are going through the same thing. If you're going to tell me that God exists in the comments and say that I need to pray about it and accept Jesus into my heart, please don't leave a comment, because no. Unless you can show me the evidence that supersedes all the evidence that shows that Christianity is and has been a fraud since day one, please don't leave a comment, because I have so much evidence and I have read so many books, and because I can't count on spiritual answers, because they are so faulty and just bizarre, and everybody gets something else, different answers on all sorts of different topics and ideas, and I've had spiritual experiences, and they've led me down strange roads. I've prayed about things and gotten answers and acted on it, and ended up in a bad situation that was completely not what I asked for or needed. So don't tell me to pray about it. Don't tell me to do anything, because the only way to do it, the only way to truly use what, if there is a God, what He gave us, is to use our brains and to use logic and reason, not running around on emotions and believing because we want to believe it, and we had an emotional response because we prayed about something that we want to be true, and we got a feeling that it was true, and now we believe that it's true. That's insanity. It's asinine. It's ridiculous. And so, you know, if you're gonna leave the comment with nonsense like that, just don't. There's no single thing you could tell me to make me believe that Jesus was the Christ and Christianity is true unless you actually have some evidence and some proof, because that is the only thing that we can objectively verify together. And if you're going to go into presuppositionalist bullshit and, well, we don't know that reality is real anyway, or logic has any real holding in the big picture or whatever, I'm not going to play that game. I like to think about this stuff. I like to think about, well, you know, what if this, what if that, what if I'm a brain in the vat? It's interesting until somebody can come up with a method of testing it and showing that that's actually what's happening. Please don't make suppositions and try to convert me, because it's not happening. I've way too much evidence. I've done way too much studying, and I know for a fact, I could be wrong, there's a 0.00000000001% chance that I'm wrong, that God actually did convolute everything because He wants people that will follow Him despite any logical reasoning, because He might actually send you into battle against another God, and our God is an evil God. But He's trying to, he may be trying to filter out the people that actually think about stuff and see things logically and try to reason why a God would ask us to do things without any actual evidence or sense to it. So, yeah, even if the Christian God did exist, I would happily reject Him and fervently fight against Him and His ideals, because I think, according to what I've read in the Bible, he's not a good guy. He's got some major issues, control issues, and he likes to trick people. So I ran out of some tape there, but you know, I've listened to a lot of atheist podcasts, and I consider myself an atheist, but I also consider myself somebody that believes in the possibility of something else. I don't say I believe it, because I don't, not until I acquire some level of evidence that's actually verifiable, reproducible. I think that if there is a spiritual reality, that it wouldn't be something that would be easily verifiable or easily reproducible in any experiment, simply because of just I'm a big meditator. I meditate. I seek after bizarre experiences, and I've had many of them. Been at quote unquote, let's not say out of body, but I've had the classic out of body experiences multiple times. I actually learned how to do it. there are a lot of inconsistencies, a lot with the experiences. I've attempted to verify it multiple times, setting out playing cards, and if the spiritual reality does exist, and if mind gave rise to matter, then see, so far it's inconclusive, because if it's all in my mind, if the experience is all in my mind, then of course anything I think of or consider or my emotions are going to have an effect on the environment, which has caused multiple times, multiple different types of distortions in my experiences. One of the most coherent ones is that my bedroom drapes, which are white, always appear green in the experience. But however, that would be something that would be to be expected if it was all in the mind. Likewise, though, if all was mind, and if mind gave rise to matter, it would also be expected if this spiritual reality wasn't really spiritual, it was just the primordial mental substance that gave rise to matter, would be easily influenced by thought as well. So maybe I'm just pushing it here, but I find that inconclusive. However, I'm considering some different avenues to take. I'll let everybody know what the results are if either way, really, because I think it's important to know. But I have this intuition that if it was all in my mind, there are, I've thought about this a little bit, that there would be certain artifacts and occurrences and phenomena that would not occur if it was actually a spiritual reality, and vice versa. The only problem is, sitting down and trying to figure out what those might be, and then actually putting them to the test. So, yeah, I don't believe it, but I believe in the possibility of it. I don't believe it based on the evidence. I believe in the possibility of it based on the experience. But I also wouldn't be shocked if it was just something my mind was fabricating. But I wouldn't be shocked either if the reality was verifiable and reproducible on certain terms. That being said, I guess I am one of the more hopeful atheists, though atheism really isn't the term to. I don't believe in a God no matter what, whether there's a spiritual reality or not. I think if there is a spiritual reality, it is just as chaotic and prone to natural selection as the physical world, hence the availability and propensity of it in the physical world. If there is a spirituality, it's just as bizarre, nonsense, whatever as this world is, if not more so. So I don't know. I find it hard to explain myself to both theists and atheists. I am a skeptic, but I'm a little bit more lighthearted in that I believe in the possibility, and I find it fascinating enough to where I actually am investigating it on a personal level, but also trying to get to a point where if it does exist, I could repeatably verify it. And that's another thing, a lot of people say, well, why can't people just, if you can do this or that, why don't you just show it and, get on James Randi? And I would like to quickly rebuke that, it's not easy. In fact, it's taken me 5 years to get to where I am with meditations and controlling my own mind and controlling these possibilities. And I'm not even close to an adept at it. I still can't get out every time I make an attempt. In fact, it's been probably a week and a half, 2 weeks now since the last time I've gotten out, and I attempt it every day, really. Once on my lunch break and at night if I have time. So a couple times a day, sometimes once, sometimes I don't, but for the most part I do make an attempt. And when it does happen, it's sometimes they're stable, sometimes they're very solid, and I can do something, but it's hard to continually know when it's going to happen and to line stuff up with it. And sometimes I forget to set a card out, or I forget to attempt an experiment. So it's very difficult to, it just is difficult, and it takes a lot of time to train yourself to be able to do it and do it properly and reproducibly. And on top of that, you have the issue of the fact that if it does exist, it's mental in nature, and it is easily distorted by one's own perceptions and thoughts and emotions, if it exists. If it in fact is a spiritual reality I'm experiencing. But yeah, as far as religion goes, man, I've read all the books. I've read The God Delusion. I've read God Is Not Great. I've read a reading. Sorry, not fully read, but I'm gonna start on Sagan's Demon Haunted World. I watched everything. I'm familiar with all the atheists, all the big name atheists, Dillahunty, Sam Harris, many of the YouTube atheists like Thunderfoot and Aaron Raw and Christopher Hitchens. I've watched a lot of material, and I agree with all of it. I don't think anybody should give way to any sort of belief of that nature without any kind of evidence. But I also understand that it is not an easy feat to pull off to get to the points to where you can perform these functions. But because I've watched a lot of the material, I know what a difficult time many people have had trying to convince other people. And I thought, well, surely my family would at least consider what I had to say, or listen to me, take me seriously on some level, because of the intimate relationship. And through trial and error, I have found that that's not the case at all. In fact, it makes it even more difficult, in my opinion, to get through. They feel very attacked by somebody that they love. They didn't watch the video. Most of them shut it off within the first 30 minutes to 1 minute, when in fact there was a video that was about an hour and a half, which was kind of something I tried to avoid, but it was really unavoidable for me to articulately explain each and every one of my points. So just yeah, I don't recommend doing anything like that. It's been a very difficult and painful experience. I try to do it to relieve myself of the notion that, well, at least I tried, but it has caused more friction than I desired. And I still feel like there's got to be some logical way to at least, some step-by-step bullet point way to get them to at least listen or admit to themselves that I may be wrong. It's possible I'm wrong, kind of a thing. Help them, get them to open up a little bit, give some wiggle room for some arguments. But so far I have failed miserably at that attempt. But really, I think this video is about up. It's probably just as long as my video that I made for my family. So yeah, I would like to hear your feedback. If you're going to try to convert me, just don't bother. It's not going to happen. There's too much at stake to believe something without evidence. There's too much damage that it does. Whether or not you want to believe it, if you have a religious belief and it's founded on an emotional experience, most likely you're not going to want to see that side of things, and you're not going to even listen to anything I'm saying anyway. So, but if you agree with much of what I've said, and you have been through these experiences, and you have something to say, or you know, would like to comment on maybe something that you've tried that has been at least somewhat successful, I would love to hear from you. So yeah, I think that's it. Rock and roll, and let's hope that evolution has a more logical approach as a group in the future, or that our information age helps to, you know, weed out some of these ideas. I think we're seeing this happen anyway. Excuse me. So, but rock and roll. See you guys later.